Hey guys, Raj Sangha of Cardio Security. Welcome back to the channel. Check this out, a gorgeous Ferrari Testarossa. Well, what are we doing with this? This is in for an audio and security upgrade. So you know what? Let's get into it. This actually belongs to a good friend of mine and a customer, Merlin of Duke of London. We worked on quite a few of these cars. This is the first time we're actually featuring one of his cars on the channel. I've got to say, this is a proper throwback. Love the Momo steering wheel and that 80s dash layout, proper old school Outrun. Do you remember Outrun? So now let me show you the stereo. We've got a Blaupunkt Nashville radio cassette. It does work because I've already had a listen. And Merlin's been using one of these cassette adapters with an iPhone adapter on the end just to get his music to play. Sounds okay, but obviously there's no depth and there's no quality at the top end, zero bass. We've got some tweeters on the dash and looks like potentially some 6.5-inch drivers in the kick panels. So once we've stripped those back, we'll find out how much depth we've got to play with. Now, Merlin does love his bass, and he has insisted that somehow we get bass into the cabin. So that's what we're going to try and do. I think it's time, got the car into the workshop, and we'll let them get on with it.
So we're going to put the Bremen in there, the Blaupunkt SQR 46, which has got Bluetooth, DAB, USB inputs, so it's a more modern unit with a classic look, and then take it from there.
Right guys, the Testarossa's in the workshop. Let's see what the engineers have done. Let's have a look inside the cabin area. So the original kick panel builds, they were fairly easy to remove, just some Phillips screws were holding these in place. The subwoofer box, that's going to go behind the passenger seat. I'll show you that in a moment as well. What have we chosen as equipment? Well, that wasn't as straightforward because we're limited in terms of size in this very compact cabin. So let me show you the equipment. Right guys, let's talk equipment. This is the Blaupunkt Nashville, the singled-in stereo that's come out of the Testarossa, radio cassette. Obviously that's no good now. We're replacing it with the go-to retro stereo, which is the Blaupunkt SQR 46 DAB. Half the size, it's mechless, there's no CD mechanism, USB, Bluetooth, DAB radio, Bluetooth streaming. So that's the new stereo. Speakers, now the speakers were fitted behind the original kick panel builds. The speakers are not the original speakers. Somebody at some point has removed the original speakers and the tweeters, replaced the speakers with these Vibe Slick 6 speakers. They do the job, but they're not really up to the kind of quality that Merlin is expecting. Now, as for tweeters, somebody's been in this car before. There were no tweeters. There's the tweeter housings. In fact, somebody's been at it and broke the tweeter housings. So they couldn't get to them. They've just fitted a set of two-way coaxial speakers and avoided having to replace the tweeter. Lazy, gotta say. Now, what are we replacing the Vibe speakers and the tweeters with? Well, we've got a set of JBL Club 602 CTPs. So we've got a component kit with 6.5-inch mid-range speaker, lovely looking mid-range speaker, nice chunky magnets, as you can see. We went through about 6 or 7 different sets of component kits just to find a small enough tweeter. If you look at the original housing, it's tiny, it's like 1.5 inches, and most tweeters are near enough 2 inches, 2.5 inches. These JBLs will fit beautifully inside the original tweeter housing and will sound awesome. We are going to use an amplifier, I did mention that previously. That's going to be this JL XD500-3. This is a 3-channel amplifier. So the front channels will power the JBL components and the rear channel will power a subwoofer. This fantastic JBL Audio CP108LG. This is actually an 8-inch W3 woofer in a custom JBL Audio box. It's supplied as you see it from JBL Audio, which means it doesn't have an amplifier built in, but we've got a separate dedicated sub channel. So the JBL Audio sub box will be powered by the JBL Audio amplifier. And finally, we've got some added security. We've got the SmarTrack CAT5 tracking system. This will allow Merlin to use the SmarTrack app on his iPhone and track the vehicle should he need to. Right guys, I'm going to leave all the equipment in the safe hands of the engineers, and I'll be back at the end of this episode to give you an update.
So what I'm going to do is added some nuts onto the studs.
Oh right, okay.
Because it doesn't quite line up, I don't want to bend these studs and damage the panel. So I'm just going to take a little plier and snip it off the end of the lugs. What we've done is done a cover which sort of touches the panels to go over it, so it looks like it's almost part of the car, but it isn't. And he's got his original luggage straps there. So what we've done is utilise that one behind the passenger seat to strap the actual casing and the box in.
Right guys, the audio and security installation on this gorgeous Ferrari Testarossa is now complete. Let me give you a little overview of what's been installed. Right, let's start with the source unit, which is obviously this retro Blaupunkt SQR 46 stab. Looks absolutely perfect in this cabin. That's connected to the JBL Audio 3-channel amplifier, which is hidden underneath the passenger footwell. The front components, we've got the JBL Club 6.5-inch components. The actual mid-range is in the housing, which is in the kick panel builds. And we've installed the tweeters, which, as you recall previously, there were no tweeters. Merlin did request that he doesn't want to see the sub box on show, so we've built this sort of stealth cover which covers the sub box, finished in a similar carpet to the interior. That looks pretty cool. You've still got space behind the driver's seat for, you know, a bit of luggage, whatever you can get there. Now, normally I would give you a listen, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for Merlin to come. He should be here shortly. Get him in the car and get his opinion on the audio setup and what it sounds like. Obviously, he's used to the car and he knows what it sounded like before. So I'm going to pull the car out and wait for Merlin to rock up. Right guys, the Ferrari Testarossa is done and I'm here with Merlin.
Nice to see you, man.
Yep, his details are on the screen. Now, before we get into you listening to it, why a Testarossa?
I think it's that age-old cliche that we all, or most of us had, the kind of poster car phenomena. Some people it's like 993 Turbo. For me, it was always the Testarossa. I went out last year looking for one, spent months trying to find one, kind of gave up, and then this came up a couple of months ago. It was exactly what I didn't want. I didn't want a red one, didn't want a left-hand drive, I didn't want a black interior, but it was such good condition that I couldn't say no to it. So yeah, it's been good fun.
Well done.
Thank you.
It's a fantastic car, I've got to say. Now, we worked on quite a few of your cars, as you know. Why do you keep coming back to us?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, no, in all seriousness, you guys are just amazing. And turnaround time,
thanks.
Firstly, pricing,
We do look after you.
You do look after me, but even so, like, hard to beat.
I think it's time we got you in the car.
I'm looking forward to this.
Play a song
Cool.
and get your first impressions.
Nice.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Right, we're going to hand this over to Merlin. Merlin, off you go.
Let's do it.
That's wicked.
You better start moving and feel the music.
That's fantastic. All from that little box.
All from that little box.
Brilliant, man.
So, right.
That's so crisp.
It is, isn't it? It's, well, there's a reason why it sounded so poor before. This is your tweeter housing. What do you notice?
No tweeter?
Exactly. So literally you had 2 speakers in the car.
Right.
And the SmarTrack track is already done. That should be connected on your app.
Yeah, all done, yeah.
So yeah, I think we're done. Right guys, another happy customer. I've got to say, loved working on this car. Now, any questions you have, any comments you have, obviously drop them down below. If you have a classic car, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, drop us an email. Now, as always, hit the like button. We appreciate that. Share and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more content coming soon to the channel. I'll see you on the next episode.